Nanette's like, don't go live yet. Don't. I'm not ready. So I'm grabbing my phone. I'm turning off the fish pump. If you've watched these live streams before, you know that fish pump is pretty loud. How do we sound, folks? How do we look? Can you see us? Can you hear us? We have a bunch of people already in the live stream. Who's here, Nanette?
I see Emily's here, and Frank is here, and who else is here? I can't see from just LP Lizard World. Won't be able to watch, but have fun, he says. And I think that's it right now. JNR Aquatic Animal Rescue's here. Angie's here. Hi, Angie. Victor's here.
Frank the Tank says we look marvelous.
Where does
There's
it say
a bit
that?
of an echo. I just made it up.
I was going to say I'm reading it. There's an echo.
A bit of an echo.
Is it him echoing me or me echoing him?
Does anybody else hear the echo? We'll try to watch for that. If
never mind, now you're good.
You're good. Cool. Yeah. So I think it was just a Q-tip. I think, Frank.
Hi, Jay.
All that you needed there.
It was probably you.
It was probably me. I'm probably repeating myself. I'm on a delay. I'm on a 10-second delay from the last show. As everybody realized, you know, I kind of said some naughty words. So now the FCC has implemented a 10-second rule against Nanette. So I'm always 10 seconds behind whatever Nanette says here.
Sure. Shelly's here. Cassandra's here. Kathy's here. Fishroom Fever's here.
This is going to be a fun one. I say that every single show. I realize that. But I've got to tell you guys, this is going to be a really fun show because we have Paul's Pills. That's Paul and Helena are joining us, and they keep all kinds of crazy. I almost put in the thumbnail, the Oddball Show. And I thought, no, if I put their picture, people will go, oh, what the heck? Yeah, but they keep all kinds of oddball creatures, everything under the sun. And it's just so fun. And I think everybody's going to have a fun time meeting them because they're just wonderful, wonderful people. We met them informally probably about 2 years ago at one of the local reptile shows. And it was just a blast. And it's always, you know, as a vendor at a reptile show, you start walking around to see what other people bring, and a little bit of ego kicks in when you're a crested gecko keeper and you see somebody else's table with crested geckos, or you're a leopard gecko keeper and you see somebody else keeping leopard geckos and selling leopard geckos. So you're in that, you know, seller mode a little bit. Well, the first 4 sentences exchanged between us and them was like, this is all a family. This is a community, as good as it gets. I tell you, folks, great animals, great people. I want to kind of talk before we bring them on. I just want to talk real quick. Who else is here?
503 Menagerie jumped in.
Outstanding. And JR Aquatics. Okay. I'm like 10 seconds behind, right? So I wanted to thank everybody for joining up. We had an onslaught. Is that a good word to use in a live stream? We had a huge number of people joining the Buy Me a Coffee, supporting the Supreme Gecko channel. And because of that, we're doing some of the things that we can do here. And that's just a blast. I think we're, you know, it's none of that money from the support. None of the support ever goes into new animals or anything like that. It always goes into equipment. It always goes into trying to make this whole process better. So again, all the new members in Buy Me a Coffee, if you're not a member and if you want to support us, we don't have the super chat or anything like that because we have the Buy Me a Coffee. It's just easier and better for us to do it that way. The link to Buy Me a Coffee is in the description. Thank you, Frank. Thank you very much.
Frank is like an admin for us.
He is. Well, he's really a moderator. Good. So, yeah, Frank,
there you go.
You know, you see any dirty words or you see any, you know, some of those sites that we saw the last live show, drop that hammer. So thank you again, everybody that's joined and become a member or supported us through Buy Me a Coffee. I just wanted to mention real quick before we bring in Paul's Pills, I have already started the work on 12 Supreme Days of Christmas. Wait, what? Is it November already?
No.
It's not November. It's not November. You know, I never even introduced you, did I?
I know, that's okay.
I'm Wally.
I'm Nanette.
We're Supreme Gecko. So 12 Supreme Days of Christmas is coming up in December, and I've already started the vendor donation form letter and putting together a volunteer list. If you don't know about the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas, it's a giveaway at the end of the year, starting after Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving. We don't interfere with the holidays, and it ends the day before Christmas Eve. So I tell you what, I'm hoping for even somewhat of a response that we had last year. Last year was just crazy. I can't even imagine we would come close to last year. Fingers crossed, but oh my gosh, that was crazy. So if you're interested in helping out with that, if you're interested in donating, just let me know off stream, and we'll make sure that you get involved. Anybody has let me start over for our English-speaking friends. If anyone has any questions in tonight's stream, make sure that you start your question with a capital question or put it all in caps. Capital question, capital letters in for the word question, or make your question. Maybe I should have more caffeine here.
That's caffeine free.
So Frank's donating Christmas waffles. If you have questions, put the question in all caps, or just put the word question in front of your question. So, what do you?
I'm laughing at you. Sorry.
Oh, that's easy. I see somebody special in our green room waiting to come on online. So we're going to bring them right on.
Yes, Victor, that's perfect. Then I'll see it faster.
Oh, there you go, Victor. Excellent. So here we go. Our special guest tonight from Paul's Pills.
Oh, look at that cutie pie.
Hi there.
Oh, and it's Leilani with a snake. No way.
Oh, Leilani.
Hi, Leilani.
Is that your snake?
No, it's icy gold, but that snake is in her house.
Yeah, she has a little plastic snake that she named Icy because
Icy.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Her name.
Now, who feeds this snake?
Yeah, who feeds her? Do you help?
Mhm.
Yeah. You're just gonna rub her face on her. Okay.
Oh my gosh, she's so cute, and the snake is cute too.
I mean,
Very cool.
she is an old. Oh, she blew a kiss.
Blue kisses. Thank you.
I swear this is not going to be a child interview.
That's okay.
It's okay.
This is super cool. Now, if Paul starts blowing you kisses, we might hesitate. We might pause the broadcast at that time.
I mean, I'd allow it. All right, you go eat your pizza.
Bye, Leilani.
That sounds good. I didn't have dinner yet.
Right? Same.
How
Yeah.
old is Leilani?
Anytime there's a snake or anything out, I need it now.
Oh, she's a cutie.
Okay, she's got her TV, she's got her headphones.
Yep. We're ready.
She's got a pizza.
Well, we actually shut the door here in my office, and we put a chair up against the door so the son and granddaughter. So if you hear knocking, the house is on fire. The house is on fire.
We don't know. We don't care.
We don't care. Go away.
No, we should be good as long as no dogs walk past the house.
Yeah,
we should be good.
You might hear some barking, or if one of the dogs gets bored because it's a husky, he might start whooping, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense.
So I've got to ask this question one more time. So we talked a little bit before the show started about huskies. So you're saying that they're not as 100%, 120% energy level as everybody says that they are?
No, if you allow them to get fat and be lazy, they will be. That is not good. I'm not condoning that as someone who works in VetMed. I'm not condoning that. However, they're kind of like a greyhound where if you do want them to be a couch potato, they will be. But it's not good.
So that first approach is absolutely the Wally Kern approach. for me.
Like we said, get two of them. That way they wear each other out.
Right.
Because
if you have a fenced-in yard and you have two and they can run around, oh my God. Like, they're so happy. They're so happy.
I can't even imagine. I can't imagine. When we've had our three dogs, it's always been, walk the yard, walk the yard, walk the yard.
Right.
And after a month or so, they kind of get it, and it's just like, okay, open the door, and it's been 5 minutes, open the door again, and let them back in.
Okay, they do the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. However, they do get zoomies in the yard, and they rip it, like they really do. And I do actually run them, sometimes. Right now it's too warm, but we do canicross, we run, we exercise. One of
I
them
exercised once about 5 years ago. So we've seen the snake. We've talked about the Huskies. We're going to talk about your pets. But before we even get into that, tell us about you two. Tell us about you personally. Tell us
Wow. We met a long time ago.
Not about
My hair was the same color.
Yes, it was. So I decided to go to Australia randomly when I was 18. And I heard about something called a work holiday visa, which means that you can just like go and work somewhere for a year, which is cool because that's not easy to get in a different country. So I applied for that and I got it. And I was like, well, obviously Australia, like, right?
Right, exactly.
Right? And I was like, well,
lifetime.
Australia Zoo is pretty great. So I think I'll go to Queensland. And so his accent's British. Mine's just learned. So I ended up in Brisbane. And then I was looking for money because that's what backpackers do when they travel. You try to find as much money as you can so you can continue to travel. And there was an opportunity on this little island off the coast of Queensland to clean a hostel for
Room and board.
Yeah, for basically accommodation.
Okay.
So you could stay for free if you cleaned. So I was like, coolio, sounds good. So I did that.
Nanette, you look like God, no.
I mean, I didn't know anybody in Australia.
And I agree.
So
Cleaning up after backpackers is not an enjoyable.
no, it's
I had 3 boys, so no.
Yeah.
So I went and I met this guy like randomly. So this is 2010. Yep.
Yeah.
2010. So and then, I was kind of like there and back for a little while, and there and back for a little while. And once my visa was kind of coming to an end, we decided, okay, we kind of want to be serious. So anyway, we went through the whole thing. We got married in a quick little court wedding over there. And then yeah, well, you got to get the visa going. So anyway, and then we had a big one with a beautiful one with family. It was still small because it was in Australia, and how many people can afford to get there? It's so expensive.
Yeah.
So it was still small, but like we had a friend of ours did the catering, and a friend of ours did the photography, and it was beautiful. Anyway, so we met that way, and so he was a dive instructor at the time. I am a rescue diver by this point in my life, so we did a lot of scuba diving for a while off of Australia. And then we kind of decided we might want to have a family, and I was like, well, you don't have family in Australia and I don't have family in Australia, and it's definitely easier to have family if you have other family around. So
yes,
the US was the next logical point.
It was the option of the US or the UK. And
right.
Okay.
Wasn't going to be the
UK. I would go to the UK in 3 seconds. However, so
here we are.
Yeah, so we ended up here. I now live 4 blocks away from the house that I grew up in.
Oh, how cool.
Okay.
After moving 9,000 miles away. And yeah, so he had a Colombian rainbow boa in the UK.
Yep.
And growing up, you had a tortoise.
Tortoises, yeah.
But otherwise, it was me who actually brought the bugs into.
You started with the roaches. I started with the isopods.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very different. So you have a very modest background in keeping animals. You get married, you come to Wisconsin, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to keep roaches.
Well,
Not
so-
quite.
Not quite there.
well,
It was more of a case of we've got like we started as soon as we moved back here. We started getting reptiles.
well, okay. So,
Predominantly
and
lizards.
that's what I was gonna touch on.
Yeah.
So this old lady, who I've had since 2006.
Oh,
I had a friend
Wow.
watch her while I was gone, and she was kind of in a moment in her life where she was like, now that you're back, can I give her back to you? I was like, absolutely. So, and I was like, what am I even going to do with a snake at this point? Like, no, and I adored her. She was my first snake that wasn't a garter. However, I was like, yes, I will absolutely take her back. So she kind of rekindled the snake keeping in Australia. We did have a few carpet pythons because you're only allowed to keep native species in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
So we had
Okay,
carpet
okay.
pythons, and I'm not gonna lie, carpets aren't my thing. I love them. They were great snakes. They grew huge. You know, and there were lace monitors up in the tree every other day, etc. But yeah, they weren't. Meh. Carpets are cool.
Yeah.
But meh. But anyway, so when she kind of re-entered my life, kind of re-spurred the actual reptile. You know, what tortoises did you keep? Don't know.
No idea.
Because it
No
was
idea.
the UK in
You
the
just liked them, you kept them.
80s.
It was it was
Probably Greek.
early
Probably
80s.
a Greek or Herman's, most likely.
Yeah. It was the last year we were allowed to, or you could import wild caught tortoises into the UK.
Right.
I think I was 5 years old. My mum bought it for me as a pet, and yeah, even back then vets didn't even know anything about them.
No.
Like
Absolutely not.
they like couldn't even tell me if it was male or female, which obviously I figured out eventually by myself. But
Frank, I heard that it was like a super rare tortoise.
Yeah.
Like nobody else had them. So that's what I heard.
Yeah,
it
I mean-
certainly wasn't a common pet in the UK.
Right.
At least back then.
His mother got, when did she get her other tortoise?
She's
It was
had
a
her
few years
years
ago.
now, yeah.
But I guess it's like quite common in the UK to have a tortoise in your garden that just eats dandelions.
But that kind of started the whole process.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So why roaches? I'm debating whether to ask that question or
Well, as I was saying,
I'm to blame for the roaches.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
At least the initial engagement with roaches. I'm definitely to blame.
so we had a lot of lizards, and as you know, when you've got a lot of lizards, feeding them the cost is ridiculous.
For sure.
And crickets suck.
Yes.
So
crickets suck?
going to the
Yes,
shop and
crickets
buying
suck.
crickets, and then half of them are dead by the time you get home. So
They stink.
trying to feed, and they stink and they chew, and
Yeah,
they're
they
just
suck.
nasty.
They just overall suck.
And if you get 20 of them, 19 wind up somewhere in your house for 3 years.
Right? And then
Chirping
they
every
chirp
time you go to sleep.
forever.
Yeah. So basically, we needed food. We needed feeders. So yeah, we got dubias, which obviously everybody starts out with.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, I bought a big breeder colony off a friend of mine who was retiring as a rodent breeder, and she happened to have this big tub of dubia, and I was like, cool, I'll buy them. She wanted like $50 for like this 100-gallon tub's worth. So I was like, I guess, okay. And then so then from there it was like, oh, you know what's cool? Domino roaches. Those are really cool. Maybe we should keep those. And
Where
then
did you see domino roaches?
I mean, I've always been on invert like forums, etc. Like I know of Roach Crossing. So I guess just my constant internet browsing.
So you started keeping dubias to feed, and then you were looking at
Dubias, then
Yep.
we got a couple of other feeders, and then it was some just like, oh, these are interesting.
Right.
Oh, these
They're
are
pretty.
interesting.
Why don't we keep those? They're very pretty.
Yeah.
So
Obviously, bugs in cyberspace were a great one for me. He does a great job. Same with roach crossing and that.
yeah, absolutely. If he answers his emails.
Yeah.
He's a very smart man, but man, he's bad at answering his
I've
emails.
said the same thing to him a couple of times. Like, waiting 6 months on an email is kind of
Yep.
hard.
Right,
Um,
right.
Peter's the same though. Peter's a little bit better, but he's pretty close to being the same.
I have them all on Facebook and
Right.
chats that way now. So
By this
if I need
point.
them, I can get them a little bit easier.
How many roaches, how many different types of roaches are you keeping now?
Species
Different
40
40
something.
something.
40.
We're at
Yeah.
40 something.
I think it's 42.
Yeah.
Do you have more colonies?
Fluctuates because there's some that like
We've
we decide to get rid of.
Yeah, we've evacuated a few species that we just consider either problem species or they just don't do well. Typically, it's because they are a potential house invader, and we don't want that. So we will get rid of those. So lobster roaches, for instance, while they are not a house invader, they are a bioactive invader. So
Yeah.
and yes, we've kept banana roaches. The other one would be the redhead roach. Very cute. However, again, like the lobster roaches,
impossible to kill and breeds.
they breed very fast.
So
they
fast.
climb any surface. Like, again, a bioactive invader. So
I tell the story.
we don't keep anything that can invade our house.
exactly.
Good.
So
Okay.
if we're not happy with it in our tanks as a feeder, we're not going to produce it to sell it. On the other hand, something like little Kenyan roaches, which are fantastic as
Microfeeders.
yes, microfeeders and a cleanup crew. Yeah, I don't care. Infest the tank. You don't make frass, and again, wonderful.
Only the male can climb, so if
So
one
who
escapes,
cares? Right? Who cares?
he's not doing anything.
Exactly.
Those are. Did you say those are little canyon roaches?
Yeah,
Kenyan.
they are about.
Canyon. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
little
I was gonna say,
Kenyan,
do you not have them?
Yes, yes.
I'm sure I gave you
I
some.
was gonna say, I'm pretty sure you must have them.
I might have isopods and giant canyons on my mind.
Oh,
Gotcha.
Yes. Yeah.
Fair.
So tell us. So a roach is a roach is a roach, right? You can, if you have one type of roach, you know everything about every single other type of roach, right?
Absolutely not.
If only.
Just like we have with the isopods. Like you'll find some that, like obviously dubia, the lobsters and that, which doesn't matter what you do with them, they're just going to breed and breed and breed and breed.
Not gonna lie, hissers also.
Hissers as well, yeah. There's other species that are more like some of the giant Spanish isopods that need very, very specific enclosures and that. And I've got some roaches that I've had for 2-3 years now, and I still have not figured them out.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that the emerald roaches? I'm probably calling them the wrong name.
Pseudoglomerus. No, I don't have them. I had them.
You got the wrong species. You got a pseudoglomerus, but it wasn't the
Magnifica.
correct. Yeah.
I somehow managed to get some imported from China that were sold to me as Magnifica. I can't remember what they were
What's the
now.
matter, Lou? Go ahead.
And it turned out, talking to some of the other roach guys, Brandon Maines in specific, who is absolutely, he knows his roaches. Like, talking to him, he just said, well, send me a picture of it. Sent him, and he was like, oh, that's so-and-so. How did you get that? Where did you get that? And he was just like, that, okay, so how are they doing for you? And I'm like, well, I've had babies. And he's like, nobody's kept these in captivity. I'm like,
Wow.
Wow, that's great. They all died.
Oh no.
Magnifica. So basically, the pseudoglomeris.
Can you come back here,
Can you sit down here?
please?
The pseudoglomeris, quite a few of them, because of where they live, they're actually up mountainous region roach in China. So they actually need a winter. So they kind of brumate. So they need to have a good temperature drop. Otherwise, they just do not survive.
How much of a temperature drop? Are we talking 10, 15 degrees?
You can probably take them down. Like, my bug room's usually around 75. You want to take them down to sort of 50 degrees. Or take them down to 50 degrees, not take
that's
them
quite
down.
a bit. Yeah, that's quite a bit.
So yeah, a good 25 degree drop for winter. I mean, if you imagine they're living up in the mountains in snow and that, so they would,
And
like
being
I said,
in Wisconsin.
they'd probably survive well here in Wisconsin.
People think you're cute, Lulu.
She is very cute.
I saw the rhino roach question. We have not yet. Had I known more about roaches when I was in Australia, maybe I would have tried to smuggle some back. However, I knew about the really, really pretty ones. I can't remember their Latin name, but the blue and yellow ones.
The
But
rhino roaches,
they take
I would
10
love to.
years to mature.
Yeah, and $300 each.
$250. Right now it's $250 each.
$250 each. You buy a male and female, $500. They get to 9 years old and one of them dies.
Yeah.
You're going to cry.
Right. So that's also why we didn't do rubber duckies for the longest time, because you just didn't want to pay that for something, which is totally fair. So
I as a fellow hobbyist, I find it hard to balance my resources. When I say resources, my time to work on animals, the space that I have available, but also, which is none, and also the money part. So I'm kind of trying to decide which way to go with things. And it's the same thing, I think, with you guys. We were trying to decide, should I spend globs of money on one animal or a quarter of a glob of money on one animal, and then buy 3 others like it.
Right.
It's
and
a tough decision.
I feel differently about reptiles, as I do for inverts, for sure. Even a crested gecko. Even a crested gecko, what's the record for age right now? It's like 25, if not 30. So that's, meh. If I'm really going to drop the cash, probably going to be a reptile. However, there are some extremely cool inverts out there. And as I do tarantulas myself, I get it.
It's bedtime
I don't
for
know
the
if that
fish.
looks better.
It might look better. Bedtime for the fish.
What was your first isopod? Oh, God.
Was there a question on the isopods?
No. I think it was powder blues.
Was it really?
Yeah. It was probably powder blues and dwarf whites at the same time.
Oh, sure.
Most likely.
Isn't that everybody's? Isn't that the standard answer?
Yeah. I mean, it was for bioactive because we basically put all our reptiles over from sterile enclosures over to bioactive.
Well, yeah, because there was that huge shift. Like I said, I got her back in 2006, and at the time, what did you do? You kept them in sterilite tubs, paper towel, one height, etc., which is fine. Like, they'll live okay on it, but the research just wasn't there about how active they actually are, including, you know, research of them in the wild, where they have found baby chicks from birds that they only lay their nests in the trees. So that means they're a lot more active than they used to tell us. So there's been a massive shift in the reptile community recently, which is fantastic. So she is now in a big luxury, you know, 4 foot, like she can climb wherever she wants to go. But we just didn't do it that way back then, sadly. So, but yeah, it's been a very positive shift.
It really has been, and it's fun to watch. It's hard to see the judgment of somebody that's not, you know, moving forward as quickly as everybody else. But it's so much fun to convert something over and then see more behavior because they're in a more natural environment. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, you know, these were always pet rocks, and not just with ball pythons, but a lot of other species as well. We're realizing how much space they actually need, and they do actually interact with it and enjoy it.
I think for a long time, we especially, you know, watching YouTube and Facebook groups and everything, we saw the word, you know, enrichment thrown around.
Absolutely.
Sometimes in a good way and sometimes in a bad way. And we just have to.
Sure.
You know,
stress is stress, but.
Yeah, exactly. So we talked about, did we have another question? Oh, question for both of you. What is the priciest isopod species you keep?
Sure,
it's
priciest isopod species.
I don't know. I'm
sure Itzo must be up there.
I don't know what price no, I think I have them. I think they're about 100.
Oh. Well, your Magnifica are at like 140.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Magnifica, Porcelio Magnifica, or one of the other Spanish giants.
Because you don't.
I prefer the Spanish to the Taiwanese. So.
So on a scale, I'm going to ask this, and then we're going to jump into Spanish isopods for a little bit because that's my passion too. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 being the highest, this is the super best of anything. Where would you put Spanish isopods? And on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put rubber duckies? And I bet our answers are exactly the same.
On level to difficulty to keep?
No, favorite. As in
favorite?
Super cool. Yeah.
Spanish species is easily 9, 10. Rubber duckies, they're burrowers. You never see them. So they're in the middle.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah, I'd probably exactly the same. I might have rubber duckies even a little bit further down on my scale than that, simply because they're a little bit harder. I think for some people, harder to breed. And thus, you get a lot of people spending a lot of money on an animal that they're going to have for 4 months and then they're gone. I think the same thing can be said about Spanish, the giant Spanish. But so, which of the giant Spanish do you keep? And folks, we're going to go off on a giant Spanish isopod rant or discussion here for a couple of minutes. So
I probably should have written this down because I won't remember. So Magnificus, obviously, Expansus, Hoffs. Oh God, Nicolaci, which you guys just gave me a couple of weeks ago. Bolivari.
Hoff.
Yeah.
Posse.
Posse. Ornatus.
I'm helpful, I swear.
And then Greek Shield.
Oh no, the chair flipped over. It's fine, we're good. I was just trying to move the loose chair out of the way.
Oh God.
would you say
I have about 20 Spanish species and I can't remember them all.
maybe Seville?
Yes, Seville.
Are you doing anything different with your Spanish isopods, or let me ask that a different way? What are a couple of I think we all know that they need to be dry. I think we all know that they're big isopods and they need a little bit of room. They might be seasonal. Give us a couple of tips for those that want to get into giant Spanish isopods. Give us a couple of tips because I know you're having a lot of success with them.
I've had success with nearly all of them. Obviously, everyone I've spoken to about Magnificus has said the exact same thing. Like they've had them for years and have barely had them ticking over. Like could just about keep them going, keep going because of how dry they are. And it was actually funny when I figured out how to keep them was because I actually specifically looked up exactly where Magnificus were found. Obviously, where in Spain. And yeah, it turns out I had actually lived there for a little while.
Wow.
In the exact same area. So Costa del Sol region of Spain. So southern coast, and it is desert. Like almost,
really?
Yeah, almost the only green you really see is in the city. As soon as you exit the city, it's just this orangey brown sand, very hilly. So basically, and because of the Mediterranean, or area of the Mediterranean, you have the Atlantic Ocean coming straight in there through the Gibraltar Gap. So you get this super cold water and then this roasting hot desert, which of course means early in mornings and that you get a lot of fog or mist, and that's sweeping up into the mountains. So basically their humidity is literally like an hour a day. Otherwise it's almost desert. And
wow.
So having lived there and sort of experienced what it is to like there, and obviously getting out and about in that area, it was suddenly like, oh my God, like, okay, now I realize where they lived and just how dry it was. Like tiniest little corner of their enclosure gets damp and the rest is dry. It's more sort of a lot of rotting wood, a lot of dried grasses, because that's more the sort of fauna you would get in that area.
Flora,
sorry. So in like winter, obviously, it would be much cooler. You would get like plant growth, but then summer, everything, it's just dead everywhere.
My gosh. So tell me how you've set up your enclosure, and if we can answer Frank's question about the substrate included in that answer, how have you set up your enclosure differently for your Magnificus?
Like I said, basically a lot more rotting wood. Like when I say a lot, I mean basically half their enclosure is just solid, like stacked up rotting wood,
which you get from the park.
Yep. Walk the dogs, find wood, pick it up.
And then put it in the oven.
Yeah. And like I said, actually, instead of so much leaf litter, using more dried grass than leaf litter.
Really? Interesting.
And they certainly go through that. Like the leaf litter, they barely even touch.
Interesting.
But yeah, the dried grass, that they seem to, destroy much quicker.
And are you just using general dried grass, like lawn clippings?
Yeah, some of it is lawn clippings. I try and gather a little bit more of wild grasses. We have an area in our backyard that is wild.
Sure is. Gotta love the biodiversity of a not tamed area that's not fertilized in any way other than
Yep.
maybe some dog pee, but also we can wash that off. It's fine.
I tried to explain that to our neighbors too. It's for my animals. I'm not mowing the yard
Right?
for the last 4 months because of my
Natural
animals.
fertilizer.
How about your substrate? What do you
Yes,
do for your
substrate.
substrate?
So again, with the substrate, I've actually
Yeah.
mixed in a lot,
Hey. Sorry.
a lot drier parts. So yeah, we add a little bit of play sand into it, a little bit of it's the white calcium sand that you get for fish tanks.
Okay.
Again, which is also calcium, so handy. Other than that, it's very. I try and use a standard substrate throughout all my isopods, but just tweak a little bit depending on the species.
Okay.
So yeah, if they do need much more humid, then add something that's going to hold a little bit more humidity. If they need it much drier, then like I said, adding a little bit of sand or the aquarium sand into the substrate to lessen its ability to hold moisture. And again, for the Spanish, for the Magnificus, just putting that tiny little lump of sphagnum in a corner and using that as their moisture.
How big of a lump are you talking about? Are you talking like a handful, like a fist size?
A shot glass.
Are you kidding me?
No,
You're joking, right?
no, it's that small of an area.
Wow. So that small area,
Yeah.
that's the substrate is damp all the way down through, though, right?
It's not even substrate. It's literally just a solid lump of sphagnum moss.
Oh. No, I'm not taking notes.
I'm going to take notes. Keep talking. I'm taking notes here. That's amazing. That's amazing. So I'm the type that with my giant Spanish, the expanses are doing really well. But my Magnificus, I've told people over and over again, I have 20 constantly in that bin, 20.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll have
to go.
30. Sometimes I'll have 30, but then at the start of the next season, I'm back down to 20. It's just a cycle over and over and over again. So I'm going to try that.
That is the exact same problem I had. And basically I just lessened and lessened the damp area. And getting to the point where it's like, this is just not enough. And then obviously looking into more where they came from was like, they don't even get wet. Like when I was living, so I lived in Fuengirola and Benalmádena, which is like
because that means anything to anybody.
just on the Costa del Sol, just outside of Malaga.
That doesn't mean anything to anybody.
On the south side or the north side?
Right?
The west side.
I meant west side.
And yeah, basically I was there for
Okay,
four
but can
months.
you name a country though? Like
Spain.
Thank you.
Spain.
Talking
Sorry.
about Spanish species. So and yeah, the 4 months I was living and working there, it didn't rain once. So that gives you an idea.
Dry as a bone.
Yeah, how dry. Like it was for the summer season. So yeah, it's just dry. Like there is no moisture there for them.
Right here.
And obviously a lot of the Spanish species we see that are in them areas are more cave dwellers.
Pardon me.
But obviously Magnificus aren't cave dwellers. But also their color, it perfectly matches pretty much where they live. Like it's that orangey brown, just hard pan, deserty region. So
Frank.
when I sort of looked into that, I realized they really don't need anything. So I just kept making their moisture area smaller and smaller and smaller until suddenly they just started exploding. And the same as you said, like for 3 years, I started with 6. I think I got up to like 20. And again, next season, just constantly stayed around sort of a dozen to 20. And since I've been keeping them like this, the last 2 seasons, like last year, this time last year, they had a massive explosion. And they are currently, I've just had 2 loads of babies, and I've looked in and I can see at least another 5 or 6 females that are just about ready to burst.
Wow.
So yeah, again, it's going to be another autumn of just
babies.
Outstanding.
And, being that seasonal breeder as well, which really kicks you, once or twice a year only. Yeah, but you can understand when obviously the babies need moisture. So in their natural habitat, autumn is the ideal time because that's when it is starting to get a little bit more humid and damper and cooler.
Okay.
Where they come from. So yeah, it makes perfect sense.
So do you change up then in the fall? Do you add more wetter areas? Do you do anything? Do you mist a little bit more?
A little bit, but that's mainly because obviously in summer here it's super humid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
it sure is.
Just a little bit.
So summer, it's like I almost find I'm only having to mist every other week, whereas winter, it's so much drier that you're having to mist.
I mean, I even find that with cresteds, like in the peak of summer, like I'm only misting every couple of days because it doesn't dry out. Because it is so humid and it needs to dry out. So
we have a question from Angie. Angie has done a lot for us here, Supreme Gecko, in foraging for wood and mushrooms and things like that. You said that you grab wood when you're out walking the dog or just taking a walk. Do you ever find mushrooms? Do you ever feed mushrooms to your isopods?
I do occasionally.
But
usually store-bought mushrooms.
Oh, okay.
Because I hate mushrooms. So if we buy them, they don't get eaten.
And also, we do actually have a really nice culture of oyster mushrooms that are back on one of the trees in our backyard. And, they'd be worth it.
Yeah. So some of our roaches
but
specifically.
No, he just buys button mushrooms and just feeds them. But wild mushrooms.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Angie, and I get asked all the time, what kind of mushrooms is Angie grabbing for me? And it's, I don't even know how to describe it. It just grows on trees. It's like a fan mushroom. She'll bring it over and I'll let it sit out.
That sounds like, the classic sort of oyster. So it's white.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Off the side. That was a terrible description with my hands. However,
I knew exactly what you were saying. So what I'll do is I'll put it, somewhere where it gets a lot of air. Very, 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 very important. Put it where it gets a lot of air, and you can catch it right at the right time. And then I use a box cutter, and I'll take the mushroom because it becomes leathery, and I'll just like this.
Yep.
And just long, thin pieces.
Absolutely. Well,
you told me that. You made me use scissors.
Yeah, I mean,
he got a tiny wood chipper, so he can make just little wood chips of all sorts of things, and then just add it to whatever.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I mean, the mushroom thing I mainly got because some of the roaches we've got are specifically like they love mushrooms. The glow spot mushroom. They actually get their glow spots in the wild from eating glow in the dark
bioluminescent mushrooms. Yeah,
which I tried growing.
But you just gave the whole chunk to the roaches, and I was like, "Well, they're gone now." Like we had them seated in a log, and they were like, kind of grown. So he just gave the roaches the whole log and he was like, well, that didn't last. I'm like, yeah, you gotta culture the mushrooms.
Yeah, it was gone overnight. They destroyed the
I
whole
know.
thing.
I was like, you have to culture the mushrooms, cut them off, give them a mushroom. Anyway.
So are they notorious for eating mushrooms? Is that like their delicacy?
Yeah. Oh,
Yes,
yeah. Yeah.
100%.
I put mushrooms
So-
in there. It's gone. Like
So the fact that he gave them the whole log,
I had 3 logs.
but still, I was like, no, you're supposed to like give them
Yeah.
one. You know, no whole log.
We have a question. Do you do the same for Warnerite? For something about Warnerite?
Oh, no.
Actually, so most of my Spanish species, I've been doing the same thing for moisture wise. Yeah, basically when I make the tub, put the lump of sphagnum, however much sphagnum I want in first, then put the substrate in so it pushes up against it, and yeah, then you've got your watering area, because the sphagnum as well, obviously for babies, like it's nice and open. They can get in there and climb around easily without, getting crushed in there. Like I said, where they're all stuck down the side of the substrate. When you spray it, you feel like you're just drowning them. But obviously they are crustaceans. They can handle being underwater for a little bit. But
Perfect.
I just find the solid lump of sphagnum just works much better, as also, you don't end up soaking a lump of substrate. And
Good job.
Some amazing facts about the Spanish isopods. We're going to jump away just for a second away from the isopods. If anybody has any questions about isopods, please, feel free to jump in there with your questions. I want to get into the red-eyed crock skinks, or just crock skinks, in just a second. But I want to ask you guys. I'm going to ask you a general question.
yes,
Describe your typical day. Describe just a general
Chair day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say general work day. You don't want to hear about that.
Well, I do.
So Helena basically takes care of most of the reptiles.
Except for the Crock Skinks.
Yeah.
So we do have a very different day in our care regimen.
Yeah.
basically.
So I do all the roaches, all the isopods, and then obviously the Crock Skinks, because that's all in one room. Whereas everything else is spread all over the house. And Helena takes care of the reptiles.
I do. I do.
Mama?
Oh, hello. I do the crested geckos, the fish scale geckos, which have been gaining a lot of interest lately. Because I now have 4 breeding groups on fish scale for fish scale.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you getting eggs and babies?
Sure am.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So, and they're fantastic. I love them. They're currently my sort of project. Oh, thanks for the hug.
Do you know the specific species? Do you know the species?
Yes,
I
it
think
is. They
there's
are
different ones,
maculata.
right?
They are maculata. I have confirmed with their, scales.
Okay.
So yes, I do have 4 breeding groups of maculata at this point. I have 6 eggs incubating, something like
Nice.
that. But I just put a bunch of pairs together for this year. So I'm hoping next year, once they've all acquainted themselves, we will have more, which will be great. And then the cat geckos is the other big one that I'm kind of starting on. I do have a trio together even, and they're doing actually very well.
Nice.
One female did lose some weight for a little while, separated her, gave her food, etc. She gained the weight back. She's doing awesome. They don't have eggs yet, but I'm hoping at some point they're in a really big exoteria that's, nice and vertical, because obviously they need to climb. It's bioactive, live plants, all that jazz. And what else? well, I have a lonely cave gecko sitting around that someday will get a lady. But I think that's the main part of my. Oh well, and I've got Mexican black king snakes that, you know, they're juveniles, so they're not neonates, they're not tiny, but you know, they're hopefully gonna go at some point. We'll see. But otherwise, yeah, it's Crock Skinks, cresteds. I might have lilies going this year, which I know isn't your favorite, Wooly, but you know, that's okay.
It is. Everybody's different.
Right.
Yep.
The morning geckos.
Oh, mornings, yeah. I mean, they're just always going.
Trying to stop them.
Yeah.
Right? And
we
then
have a few animals that are just pets as well, obviously the snakes.
and educational animals. So like, I'm not breeding ball pythons, but again, I've had her for an extremely long time. She's not going anywhere. We keep adding to the educational side because personally, that's all I really care about is the educational side. So I just keep adding animals to doing that.
Yeah. So we have.
When you talk about educational side, do you mean at the shows doing educational stuff, or?
I mean both at the shows and also so I'm a vet tech. I currently work at currently work at an ER ICU. However, if anybody's willing to have me to do you know, educational shows as far as restraint and care and where to inject medication, etc., how to even tell sex on things, I'm there. So that's the other half of the educational bit.
On the planet.
We are on this planet, Leilani said. So
That's educational.
Right. So but yeah, this girl's great because I can sit there and, you know, open her mouth with a little tongue depressor. She doesn't care. She's a great girl. So stuff like that, just teaching basic restraint, things like that you just don't get otherwise, because working in ER, like, nobody has experience. Nobody. So I'll come in with things that just, and I know Archie's Angels also did a show, an educational show at my work a little while ago. But any of it counts. So as much as I can do for education, I will do. So I keep buying animals and saying, it'll be an education animal.
It's for the educational part.
Which is why I bought a reticulated python.
The reason I ask is because you guys do a great job at the shows. And one of the fortunate things that I feel is our fortune is to meet so many great people at these reptile shows.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So out of 10 vendors, 9 vendors, I'll say 8 vendors are really good with talking to people. One of the 10 vendors isn't so good, just kind of sit there and here's something for sale. But if my math is correct, one vendor is really great with training and teaching and educating and
absolutely
kind of almost not there for sales. Sales just happens, and I would look at you guys as being that one, a good one.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
I would rather be at a show to change someone's mind on a reptile or just let them have an experience like first time I've touched a snake, whatever it was, than sell an animal, to be honest. I mean, it doesn't pay our mortgage. Like, you know, like we're there because we want to be there.
Yeah.
So
same as you know, we have a passion for it. So
right.
Just being at the show, being able to talk to people about like-minded people who love the same thing.
Right.
That's like a massive part of the show is, like the amount of shows we go to and I have to take throat sweets with me.
Cough drops in this country.
Because my throat is so sore from talking by halfway through a show.
Right.
I'm always in between customers. I'm always reaching real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, even in high school, I used to get out of classes because I would go and give educational shows to the biology department,
Awesome.
like in high school. So, yeah, it's great. And again, I get a lot of questions of like, oh, is it going to bite me? I'm like, if it's going to bite you, that would not serve my purpose as an educational animal because you would just be really scared. So, oh no, pardon.
It's okay, Lolo.
So,
No, it dries out a little bit.
oh, it dries
Just a
out.
little
Okay,
bit.
chocolate dries out, you guys.
Oh,
Not at our house. Chocolate never dries out. Ever.
So, yeah, I mean, if I really had to choose one thing or another, like as far as selling things or breeding things, honestly, education would be my main thing.
Outstanding.
Without a doubt, I would do education without any fail.
That's super cool.
One of the questions that's just come up, I have to go away for 6 to 7 days. What can I do to keep the moisture for longer?
Throw some spag in there.
I only do mine once a week.
Yep.
So my isopods and that, my roaches, my isopods, they get 1 day a week. Well,
roaches.
it's 3 days a week because it takes me that long to do them all. But yeah, they only get one day a week of me feeding them moisture, and that's it.
I'm right there too. If you can manage your isopods 1 day a week, and everybody's different, every house is different, and it's going to vary. That every 7 days might be every 6, might be every 5, but 7 days is going to be a big deal. One thing that I would do if I was going to be longer, maybe week and a half, 2 weeks, is I would find those little balls, the water balls. I would throw some of those in there. I don't know if I do much. Water crystals, something like that. Feed them feed them like that afternoon before you're going to leave, and you should be fine.
Just give it a minute.
I thought I saw another.
Yeah, Angie wanted to know her birthday party.
Oh yeah. I missed that. I'm sorry, Angie.
Angie wants a birthday party.
Do you ever? Yeah, Angie was asking if you would come and do a birthday party, an educational birthday party for her.
You want to sit on
I
my
think
lap?
that was more for you.
Oh, sorry. What?
Angie wants to know if
I was
you would
momming.
if you would come down and do an educational birthday party for her.
I would love to. I really would. I absolutely would. I mean, again, okay, like selling stuff is cool, but like education's absolutely my passion. So yes,
Look at her giggling.
I did for a while even have a hey. Yes, that's icy. Good job. She's covered in chocolate. I did even actually have a while have like a release form for doing, educational shows, but no one wants to see your tongue. Put it away.
How old is she?
3.5.
She is adorable.
She's a cutie.
She was at the show this last weekend, and she had so much fun.
She had so much fun at
She
that
did.
show at Green Bay.
She's a runner.
Yeah.
She had fun though.
I've got a question for
She's
you,
running
Paul.
right now. Yeah.
She's doing what?
She's running.
She's running.
I run so fast. Don't
You
run
ran
fast.
so fast.
I've got a question for you, Paul.
Run on here.
For your roaches or for your isopods, from the start of when you started keeping them to now, and we know about the giant Spanish, but what's another change that you've made to hopefully care for your animals a little bit better? What's a significant change that you've gone through in the period of time that you've kept these animals that has made a significant difference in the care of those animals?
That's a really good question.
I love the small, moist area for the giant Spanish. Absolutely.
It's cracked.
God, this.
Could it be that you're keeping the roaches so differently than what everybody says? Oh, just egg cartons and throw some food in there and keep it warm. And
Well, a lot of So a lot of the roaches we have are basically very similar to the isopods as far as the way you keep them. So
Baby and a snake.
again, they're on
Baby and a snake.
they're on substrate. They've got leaf litter. And again, depending on the roach species. So yeah, some obviously some are burrowers and need much more substrate. Some need it super wet. Some need it super dry. Again, I've got an assassin mimic roach. I still haven't got a clue what they eat. I've had them for 2 years. No idea. They're basically they are literally like the roach version of Magnificus. They've just about kept ticking over. I just have not figured out what they need, what they want, and it's not necessarily the way I'm keeping them. They are actually a very difficult species to keep because of the way they breed. They don't produce. They naturally do not produce many babies, and a female will only reproduce X amount of times. Unlike dubia, and that would just keep churning out and churning out and churning out as long as they're alive. These assassin mimics will have one clutch to start with, which is like literally only about 4 or 5 babies.
I'm sorry, we're fine.
Do not apologize. It's fine.
And then they will only they'll only have like another 3 or 4 clutches after that. So if you've only got one female like in that group, it's tough.
That's got to be super tough.
Do you use all the roaches for feeders?
No, I mean, not yet.
So polynoid, no, because they make the millipede spray. Lou.
Yeah. So one of the species we've got is a beautiful. They're called an ornate
Velvet roach.
Yeah, ornate velvet roach is their common name, and they're beautiful, but yeah, their defense mechanism is the same as a millipede. It gives off nasty,
Lou,
stinky.
You look like the girl from The Ring. You do. You're creeping people out. Stop it.
Okay, Lolo, please.
Hey.
Come on. Do I have to give you chocolate?
That was a good thought.
This podcast went from G to like R, like that.
So yeah, you could not use them as feeders because obviously they've got their own personal
7
protection.
days, good one.
Angie wants to know what exactly got you interested in isopods.
Cleanup crew,
Bioactive,
bioactive, yeah. And then the fact that they're just like Pokemon, you've got to get them all.
You get the powder blues, you get the dwarf whites, and then it's like, oh my gosh, there's one that looks like a clown. A zebra? There's a zebra one? Oh, so
Clown
cool.
was the first one I bought that I thought was expensive. I was like, holy, $45 for 12 isopods? Holy cow, that's expensive.
What am I thinking?
Like, yeah, I absolutely fell in love with the clowns and the puddings, and yeah, like, I mean, you see our logo that the isopods that are on there. But yeah, I was like, $45 for a dozen isopods? Oh my God. I can't tell Helena I spend that much on isopods. And now I have, like ones that are a couple of hundred. So,
and it catches you just like that too. It absolutely does. Bam Bam Gecko says, what do they call colors and patterns in isopods? Morphs, mutations?
Both really. I mean,
it's almost bedtime.
We generally call it a morph, but realistically it is a mutation.
Paul, what a great answer, because I was going to say the same thing. Once you get into the actual genetics of the isopods, if you can see very specific co-dominant and blah blah blah. You know, everything is kind of a mutation. And so you see, you know, like Dalmatians take over. It's a gene. Now it's a morph.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. We have another question from, I can't even read that name. I'm not even going to try. Have you ever noticed? Go ahead. You want to try?
No.
Okay. Have you ever noticed that different species of springtails compete, potentially eat each other in a single isopod bin?
LA2 tiger. I don't know.
Shh, watch the hamsters. Watch the hamsters.
Oh, you have hamsters too.
She's watching.
Oh.
Yeah, I only have 2 different species of springtail.
Lulu. Hey.
One's a dry, one's a wet. So I don't have any issues there.
Louie.
But different species
Come
of
here.
isopods, as we've
Come.
spoken before, and I know you've had this on the show, dwarf whites, the devil's rice.
I love that name.
Once
Love
they
it.
get into something, they
So
just cause
They're
havoc. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You've
Exactly.
basically got to get the napalm out and destroy the entire enclosure and
Lou.
start again.
Blow her up. Blow her up real good. I'll take an attempt to answer latitude and longitude's question there. I've had pinks, and pinks did really, really well, and they started growing and growing, and the culture went from like 20 to maybe a couple hundred. And within like a week, I noticed that there were some dwarf whites. I'm sorry, regular tropical white springtails, and it took a day or two, and all the pinks were gone.
Oh,
So yeah, so at least with that pink and the tropical springtails, I noticed that they can take over. So
yeah.
we've spent a lot of time on isopods and roaches, and I know we could go hours and hours in any of these topics.
Good. Oh, I forgot.
Right,
Her.
right. But I have to, and Paul is already reaching. We've got to talk about
Yep.
crocs.
Sure
Croc
do.
skinks.
Crocks. Oh,
Crocs.
skinks.
We're talking about croc skinks, and I so want to say red-eyed croc skinks. And the thing
And you
is that
said it
they're
anyway.
yeah, I did say it anyways.
He's gonna
Take a look at this, folks. This is
Oh,
one
he's
of the
gonna be mad.
coolest animals.
He's so mad. Oh,
Oh. See,
He's
that's what
so
would
mad.
happen to me.
This is
I-
like our last show.
it's just
Yeah, I
hilarious.
can
Yeah.
adjust focus if you want, but that means I'll have to adjust focus.
It's so hard. If you see these guys in person, you're going to go, I want that so much. Here's all of my money.
Yeah.
Is this a red eye?
This is a red eye.
This
yeah,
is-
this
this
is
is
our
a-
male.
The same animal that you used for the,
The picture you put up, the thumbnail.
yes,
Yeah.
same animal. Just, and they
No
poop.
lag.
No way. But yes, so we actually got him as a wild caught import, to add to our captive breeding program. And he happened to just be this big, cocky male. He's huge for a crocodile skink. He's huge.
Yeah,
And he doesn't care if you're looking at him, which is quite uncharacteristic
yeah.
but yeah, he's had eggs produced.
Yeah,
So
he's just become a father for the first time.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
July.
yeah,
I know.
just like
know
you
why-
in the last, 4 years.
I know why I love croc skinks, but why don't you tell everybody why you guys have a fascination for these animals?
I mean, for me, it's like
they're
you
pretty great.
just look at them, like that structure, the spine, the back. Like, I can have a crocodile in my house that fits.
Also, though,
I'm
once,
like a-
once we move to a warmer place, I'm having Vancouver ears, but it's fine.
Basically, yeah, they and like they live up to their names. They love water. Like if one of them's in their water dish and you disturb them, they'll disappear under the water and they'll stay there.
Well,
Really?
the breath of their eyes.
Yeah, they're gone. They can hold their breath for quite a bit of time. They swim fantastically.
JNR, no, I've never talked to anyone from ants on a rock because ants creep me out, my guy. Sorry. Whoa.
Some of the general cure with the Crock Skinks. I know that the high humidity, water are very important to them.
Yeah, so they're super high humidity. You're looking like 80-90% humidity. So summer in Wisconsin, fantastic.
Lou, stop packing peanuts or whatever. Jesus.
Absolutely, like they need to have bioactive. They're not a species you can keep sterile because of that high humidity.
For sure.
Also, they're really not a super handleable species at the moment. And I say at the moment because 90% of what you see in the trade is wild caught.
Yes.
Captive bred, that is changing.
White eyes, at least.
Yeah, white eyes. Between the white eyes and the red eyes, like everybody loves the red eyes.
Yes.
They're a little bit bigger. That red around the eye that looks like a nasty infection.
Well, that's okay. As someone in vet med, that's why I like the white eyes better, because the red eyes, I see that and I'm like, that needs attention. You need antibiotics. Like, it doesn't look right. Like, I know
Really?
it's fine. I don't like it though.
But yeah, so obviously white eyes were the first ones that I kept. Again, because they look like, without that red ring, it looks more like a dragon.
Sure does.
And I did the same as what so many other people have done and named their first one Toothless.
Toothless. Yes.
And I still see on some of the groups.
Just a second. So
I still see it. I still see. I still see on some of the groups, like group chats, like, I just got my first one. This is Toothless, and it's like, oh no.
Yep. Could have guessed that.
Yeah. So
She's stuck with a box.
my first, my white eye pairing, my first ones, they're now just Mr. and Mrs. T, because.
I mean, Mr. T's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So.
Also, they do mate or pair, like, so basically keeping them like as a trio doesn't work.
Oh, really? So they bond.
They bond, do bonding pairs. One of the most common questions I see people asking is, I've just paired up my Crock Skink like 3 months ago. When am I going to start seeing eggs? Not for another year or two.
Oh, isn't that incredible?
Wow.
Right.
Basically, especially with wild caught, the chances are it's already been paired up. So if it's a wild caught, it's going to take even longer because it's been a bonded pair. So it now needs to rebond with its new pair. And actually, one thing I found a few years back, I managed to dredging through the internet. I managed to find someone actually wrote a paper on them. A lady wrote, I wish I could remember her name. I wish I could even find the PDF again. Basically, she spent years studying them in the wild and in captivity. And it's where I got a hell of a lot of information for them. And yeah, she basically said, like, when you first pair a set of Crock Skinks, it's very common for their first year that they start producing eggs, that they produce dud eggs, and they actually eat them.
Because why not? You made the calories.
Yeah,
right.
Like with crested geckos, like eating their shed. Like, you made those calories. Eat them.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, for that first year that they bond, they really don't do anything, and then you can get, like, they'll start producing a couple of eggs, and it's only one egg every. For a white eye, it's every 3 months during mating season, and for red eyes, it's every 2 months.
Is that crazy?
So yeah, their first couple of eggs, they will actually produce a dud egg and then eat it, and then just do that a couple of times. Whether it's like, oh well, we need a little bit of practice before we actually have kids,
Right? Yeah.
Let's get a dog first.
I can't imagine though, and we talked about this at one of the shows where you have a pair, they're a new pair introduction. You get your first egg, yes, a first egg, and you're waiting, and then it's bad. And then you get finally your second egg, and you're waiting, and it's bad. I'm done. I'm out of here. I can't wait anymore. Sell these off. I have an infertile female because all I get is infertile eggs, right? And that's not the truth at all.
No, absolutely.
Oh my gosh!
And actually, one of our mating pairs of red eyes, I actually bought from a vendor that was selling them, and they were like, "Yeah, we got them to breed. We've had them for a year, and we've had no luck." I was like, "You've had them paired up for a year?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Fantastic! I'll take them."
Right, you did the hard work.
3 months later, I had a baby.
So how do they hatch?
Go ahead.
How long does it take for incubation for the egg, or do you have to do anything special?
You have to pull the eggs.
So it's basically every time they lay an egg, one will hatch. So it's 2 to 3 months, depending on white eyes, 3 months, red eyes, 2 months.
Right. So very similar to crustids.
Yeah, pretty much they produce an egg.
Because it's room temp is the ink. So.
Yeah.
Do you take them out then when they lay the egg? No,
because they watch their babies.
Yeah, they again
they have a family structure.
A bonded pair, and they actually do raise their young. They guard their egg. They look after it, and then once the baby's born, so mine all basically stay. The babies all stay in with their parents.
Really?
Until they get about 8 months, and then I pull them. And then I can get them out, make sure they're healthy, get them feeding make sure they're feeding really well before I'm starting to look to sell them. And I generally don't sell any until they're at least 9 months old. That way I know that they're doing well,
well started.
Yeah, well started. They're eating well. I can do a fecal on them, make sure they're good and clean.
Which I do because vet tech. Right. So we do
spend a lot of time looking at poop in a microscope.
I spend a lot of time looking at poop in a microscope, and I actually quite like it. So that's awful. So I do have my own microscope.
I have a problem picking it up.
I do fecals. So yes, anything that we sell has had a fecal done, and within reason, if it's a baby that's never touched its parent, and you know what I mean, right? Because that would be ridiculous to test every single hatchling. Anyway, so
with Cresties,
yes, that would be ridiculous. If they've never seen their parent, why would I do a fecal? That'd be crazy. So, anything that's either well caught or whatever, like we're gonna do a fecal on. We're gonna test for obviously. Literally everything has pinworms, and we're going to do our very best to negate that. However, in a normal habitat, if you're cleaning the substrate, etc., it's not something that should be a major issue. However, in bioactive, containers or homes, because they're constantly living in the same soil, etc., they can keep reinfecting themselves, and pinworms can become actually a major problem because of bioactive enclosures. So
if you find one that's infected, do you then move it to another enclosure, and that
correct
first enclosure you're done with?
That's right. So you'll move it to another enclosure and then just basically strip it, let it just dry for a few days, and then redo. Because if they are positive for a pinworm, which again, in the most part is not a big deal. It's very, very common. However, if they have a gecko feeding bowl and there's poop on it, etc., every time that they are eating, they are reinfecting themselves, and that can cause massive weight loss. I mean, it can cause your animal to die. So, but if you're keeping in something really sterile, like, again, we're going back to the debate of sterile versus enrichment. You're just doing like paper towel and some soap leaves, and you cycle that out and sterilize it every couple of months, or more frequently than that. They're probably going to go through the infection on their own. However, in that bioactive environment, they can keep reinfecting. So we definitely like to do fecals, even on captive animals. Pinworms aren't super scary. However, they can be in that kind of situation. So
especially with Crock Skinks, because they love to poop in their water bowls.
Oh, they do, which means they just keep reinfecting again. So as far as I'm aware, most people have had pinworms in their life. They might not want to admit it, but they probably have. But also, you're not eating where you poop, so you're not reinfecting. So, but if you think about a bioactive enclosure, they're just reinfecting, which means massive weight loss and a lot of sickness. So,
and I look at that whole situation too, and especially with a bioactive, you got to stay on top of it, because you're also feeding in that bioactive enclosure.
Correct.
If it's infected, if there's any infection going on, anything going on, your feeders are probably drinking the same water,
Absolutely,
eating the poop from the geckos, and just the cycle just doesn't stop.
Exactly. So bioactive is fantastic. It's required for a lot of species, like absolutely required. However, you do still need to clean.
Yeah.
I guess, because
that's one of the things I found with the Crock Skinks, and it is like, it's very common, and people do amazing jobs with their Crock Skink enclosures.
Oh, absolutely.
When I first started keeping them, I did the same thing. I built this beautiful water feature, a waterfall in it. Absolutely amazing. Crock Skinks like to burrow, and they like to swim.
Mm-hmm.
So they get filthy, and then they go for a swim. It's impossible to keep their water clean.
Right, unless it's
like
a separate
I had an
dish.
external canister filter on there.
Yep.
Wow.
It didn't make a difference.
Well, that's not going to stop a pinworm ova, because that's what we're looking for when I do a fecal. So basically, if you really want to know, which you probably don't, when your vet does a fecal exam on your dog or your cat or whatever, basically we put the poop in a really high salinity solution. So it's like more salty than the ocean, which if you imagine, if you're in the ocean, you float better, right?
Think of the Dead Sea.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything just floats
You
on the
float
surface.
super well, right?
Yep.
So we put a little bit of poop in this really, really high salty solution, and then we put a little cover slip on top of that, and the eggs float to the top. So what I'm actually looking at, I'll take the cover slip off, I put it on my slide. What I'm looking for is actually eggs, and then I have to identify the eggs versus what the actual infection is. So, water plays a big part. So if they're drinking water that there's like some poop in, they're gonna get reinfected with more.
Kind of on the same thought. I get a lot of people asking if they should quarantine animals that they're bringing in, and I say you should always quarantine. And I get a lot of people asking me, Wally, I just bought an animal from you. Should I put it in quarantine? I tell them absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I don't care if you buy it from you guys or me or anybody. Quarantining is a good thing all the time, simply because you're putting them away from your animals. Just in case Wally had something, you're protecting your animals.
For sure.
But also, more importantly, you're watching, and you're making sure that they're adjusting and they didn't get overstressed in the shipping process. and you can manage those animals and watch their poop and make sure that they're
That's
at least not losing weight, right?
fair. That's fair. However, unless you're actually doing a fecal, you are not likely to see worms. It's not. Like,
no, you're not going to see
No,
that.
but what I'm saying is, like, you can quarantine for 3 months, which I don't disagree with quarantine. Please don't think I'm saying that
No.
whatsoever, because there's a lot of different things that you can quarantine for other than parasites. But you're not necessarily going to have any indication, unless you do fecals, that there is anything wrong with your animal.
Yep.
So, because like I said, for the most part, pinworms live kind of symbiotically with a lot of reptiles. So you can keep them there for 6 months even, and you're probably not going to see any issue. And then if your group does not have pins, you could end up getting pins. Again, pins are not the worst thing in the world. They really aren't. Again, unless you're doing like this reinfection loop, you're probably okay with them. But a quarantine won't show it unless, like I said, you have a hyper infection.
The only upside of a quarantine for like pinworms is it is more of a sterile. So you're going to change it a bit.
Change that paper towel all the time.
That's if you're changing the water and everything every single day, and you're sterilizing the silk leaves every single day. Anyway, they're a nuisance.
There's so little that I know about diseases and infections. I think I would love to have you guys on, if you don't mind, in the future. And let's talk about some of these preventative kind of things that we could do, and also what to watch for and what to do.
And zoonotic diseases that can spread to people.
Yeah.
Because you can get stuff from this too.
Oh, exactly.
But yeah, most definitely. Actually, to be fair, I have a veterinarian who would probably love to have a chat.
We could have both of you on. That would be wonderful. I think that'd be tons of information that everybody can share. And I think, one of the important things for me is we got into the practice of every single time, and we've been asked over and over again, is it safe to work with the animals and come up and not wash your hands? I say it doesn't matter. Wash your hands. It takes you 1 minute, and just if you're working with anything, come up and wash your hands and you're done with it.
I mean, I've gone through and treated my entire crested gecko colony for pinworms because I did a fecal on 2 of them and they were positive. So I most definitely did. So it was a lot of obviously hand sanitizing, etc. There is a part of me who's like it's worth it, but like obviously these
not gonna stop everything.
Have pinworms, so they like all do basically. But also we did the whole sterile thing. But again, like, and different species affect different things. So pinworms, I think in tortoises, if I'm not mistaken, is like worse than it is in a gecko. So, and the treatment is not as easy in a tortoise because they don't tolerate a drug called metronidazole, which is a major drug that we use for that. So, cross contamination is a very big worry too. So even if your geckos are fine,
absolutely,
if you have other species, could be a big deal.
Yes. I don't want to lose this question from Angie, and then I'm going to get one more question in. I know I've kept you guys for way over how much I said that.
Oh, you're good.
So are the babies, as the babies are growing, are the eggs still being laid? This is for the skinks.
Skinks. So yeah. So I currently have one of my red-eye Crock Skinks. I currently have 5 babies. Well, yeah. I just pulled one of the babies out because he's going into his grow-up tub. So at the moment there's 4 babies in there, and so the babies are staying there with the parents, being looked after, being taught how to hunt their food, and they'll just produce another egg and every 2 months.
Wow.
So, and like I said, we're with the white eyes every 3 months. The white eyes I've noticed actually seem to take a break. Yeah, once it gets to winter and it's a little drier, they only produce for 9 months. So most I got in 1 year was 4 eggs from a white eye, whereas the red eyes, there just seems to be no stopping. It's just every 2 months, just keep popping out another one. Thank you.
These crocodile skinks are fascinating animals. And
Do
I
you
think
have
that
any yet?
we don't. And I did it one time. I tried one, and without a lot of information. This is like 20 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
So I didn't have much success. I kept it alive for maybe a couple of years, and it finally succumbed to my inexperience. I would love to get into them again. It's just, again, it's a matter of managing your resources as best as you possibly can. I just know I don't have the resources to do something like that. Fascinating animals. You guys, thank you very much for keeping these animals going, because it takes a lot of patience, a lot of experience, a lot of work, a lot of care for these animals to keep them as a captive. This is so important. Oh my gosh, this is so important. As a bred animal. It really is. Oh my gosh. Nobody's listening to me. They're all looking at the sites that are coming up here.
Suddenly notice the dating.
It's like blah, 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 blah. Oh my gosh. I get okay.
Yeah.
So I've got 2 more questions for you. Well, I've got a lot of questions, but 2 more groups of questions. But one big question here. So you guys, Paul's looking at these isopods or these roaches, and he's, oh my gosh, but they're like $500 for a group of them. Or you're looking at these reptiles, and oh my gosh, they're $500 to get a pair of. Who makes the final financial decision? Who's the accountant? Who's wearing the accountant hat and says,
between the 2 of us?
At this point, no, we cannot do that.
I'm on the reptiles. He's on the inverts. So
I know that. So you're both coming to each other at the same exact time, and you're going, but I want this reptile, and you're going, but I want this isopod.
Actually, like the most recent one was Phil Dragon. So
you did that though.
Well, you did it. I was at home. So she went to Schomburg, NALBC, Schomburg, and she's just like, because I've wanted my top 2 reptiles were a frill dragon and a caiman lizard, both of which need massive enclosures.
Big.
So I was like, no, can't, don't have the room, can't do it. She got a damn reticulate.
I got a retic.
Yeah, reticulated python. So I'm like, and then she goes to Schomburg and she sends me a message. They've got baby frilled dragons.
For 200.
I'm like, oh, don't, God damn it. No. She's like, oh, she'll do a deal.
But yes,
I'm like, oh, I'll transfer the money.
So who's the first one that says no? Who's the first one that says no? We are not going to do that.
No, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Get a say.
Yeah. So okay, I've got more questions for you.
I don't even get a say. It's just by the way, this is coming in.
It's less the cost and more the space.
Exactly. Yes. The initial cost is
out
nothing.
of room.
Right.
He understands when he says he's out of room that he's out of room. He doesn't like create room.
Okay, Ashley has a question.
Nice way to
I'm
refer
going
that
to
one.
throw this one out there, and then I'm going to jump into our last point here. Ashley is saying,
Nice.
do Crock Skinks hide as much as some people say? And do they have a super short lifespan?
They
Wow.
So there's the answer right there.
again, they're more crepuscular. So
Crepuscular.
I can't say that word.
I'm not good with them names.
No.
So dusk and dawn, their main thing. Yeah, really, if you want to be able to watch it all the time, get a baby cam, put that in with it in its enclosure. You'll get to watch it on video. because most of the time when you enter the room, especially with wild caught,
Okay.
they're gone instantly. With the captive bred and more specifically with white eyes as well, white eyes seem to be much more active and much happier when you walk into a room to stay out in the open. And again, with captive bred, they are much more used to people. That problem of it being like 90% of what you see in the trade is wild caught. It's like,
Over 90%.
As soon as you
Easily
walk into
over
a room,
90%.
they'll freeze, and as soon as like you get close to their enclosure, yeah, they're gone. As far as lifespan, I think it's about 15 years. Captive bred at the moment, we're looking around 15 years.
I do have like two little questions that I kind of pinned from
Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
comments. Also,
You're good.
favorite roach.
Favorite roach? Oh, I mean the fear. So the
Thorea.
for the dominoes, question marks, and orange dominoes.
Pretty great.
Yeah, they're just because they're diurnal as well, so that you actually get to see them.
Right, which is very rare. for a
Most of them,
roach to
most
be
roaches,
diurnal.
yeah. As soon as you see a bit of light, they're gone. Whereas these guys, they're out during the day. That you actually get to enjoy them.
Mm-hmm. And they are.
And the glow spots, purely because of they have a matriarchy. So literally a queen bee, a female that's in charge, and they'll have their full burrow set up.
Little drones that watch
Yeah,
the
they
entrance.
have their oldest nymphs will be watching the entrance to their burrows. The males are all kicked out, like, yep, you stay away.
And then they have a little brood with this whole protective thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
So-
glow spots are and they're
Super
so
interesting.
cute.
Super interesting.
But yeah, anything that has a social hierarchy for me is aces. I mean, that's pretty cool,
Yes.
right?
Hoffman say guy. Yep.
Rarest roach was the other one.
Rarest roach. So I have
This one.
Oh yeah. At the moment, it would probably be the Taiwanese leaf mimic.
Oh yeah, because you're the last one in the country with an actual colony.
Was
Wow.
in
Wow.
apparently.
And yes, we have extinct roaches, and they're doing amazing.
Unbelievable.
So yeah, Christmas. Was it Christmas? Last Christmas? Or the year before? I can't remember when
I
it
don't
was
know,
now.
but there's icy. I'm gonna get a drink.
Yeah, a whole bunch later. I said Brandon Maines. Oh no, it wasn't Brandon. Roach Crossing, TJ Umbrell, a few of the other big roach guys in the US. Suddenly hit me up one Christmas like, have you got Taiwanese leaf mimics? I'm like, yeah, my colony's doing fantastic. And they were like, you're the last person in the country that's got them.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
With all of our colonies have crashed.
Oh.
And they are a tough species to keep. My colony at the moment is doing terrible. It was doing amazing, but so basically they tend to poop a lot. They eat a ridiculous amount.
Is it a big roach?
No, it's a tiny little roach, about an inch long.
Adult female is like male dubia size. So like
Okay.
About an inch and a quarter.
yeah, like not a huge roach.
But their frass, because of the amount of frass they have, and because they're super humid, they kill themselves off with their frass. So everyone was like, "You've got to keep them clean. You've got to keep them clean." And I didn't clean mine for a year. And they thrived because I just kept dumping massive amounts of leaf litter in there, and like I'd take their wood out, fill it up with leaf litter, put the wood back on top, and they thrived. I finally, after over about a year and a half I finally cleaned out their thing because their substrate went from like 1.5 inches to like 4 inches.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. I
Oh,
finally cleaned them out, and since I cleaned them out, they've been crashing. So that whole keeping them clean,
God damn it.
not necessarily.
so I'm going to jump over to our last question here, but I do want to follow up with that one. Do you think that by cleaning them, you change the bio conditions? Do you think that you
for
took away
sure.
from
Yeah.
the babies a place to hide?
I mean, I basically reset them to like how I was keeping them anyway, just with less frass. Still keeping the humidity the same, keeping massive, like a good 4 inches of leaf litter on top. But yeah, for some reason, they're just not doing that well. Like, you know, it's frustrating.
You were the last one in the country.
But
you did it for
thankfully,
a bit.
I managed to sell a few to other people. I've got them out to other roach keepers. So hopefully, I know TJ and that have been getting their colonies going. So yeah, they're not gone from the hobby yet.
I know also the assassins have been quite difficult.
Yeah, as I was saying earlier, the assassin mimics.
They're so pretty.
I'm not even sure
too.
if I have a female in there anymore now because I haven't seen babies for a long time.
Wow.
So I may
They're
lose my
so
assassin
pretty.
mimic.
They're just a black and white, gorgeous roach. Like,
But they're in the hobby though, so you
Yeah.
could
They
reassess.
are.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
lose them.
they are.
If I lose them, I may replace them with something else.
Right. That's fair.
Because there's others I want, but I don't have room for. So if I lose something,
Totally
Yeah.
fair. I think they're
Yeah.
absolutely stunning. I adore them. However, I get it. If they're not thriving, they're not thriving. So why keep trying?
Yep, exactly.
I have a question for Lulu. What's your favorite Disney movie, sweetie?
What's your favorite Disney movie? Do you like Elsa?
Yeah.
Frozen.
That's my favorite
Could be
too,
Frozen.
Frozen.
We do love Bambi though.
Oh, okay, cool.
Bambi's definitely up there, like way
Cool.
up there.
And how about Beauty and the Beast when Belle wears the yellow dress and dances in the ballroom? Oh, isn't that so cool?
Yeah.
Wally's
You've
favorite
seen
princess.
that one.
yeah. And you like Moana?
Oh, Moana. Moana's
Ah,
actually a pretty big one. I mean, we met in a Pacific island,
oh,
technically.
there you go. There you go. Frank has one
That's
more
why
question.
she has the name she has.
I even have
Oh,
the
we
same
do.
tattoo as the grandma.
No way.
We question there. We do have Chinese. Excuse me.
Chinese medicinal roach.
Yes, we do. We have them. They're doing fine.
Okay.
Right, but not thriving. But we
No.
do have them.
Very cool.
Yes.
So this is the part of the show where we're going to kind of wind it down the last couple of minutes here. And I don't know if you've seen previous shows, but this is called Hit It and Quit It.
All right.
Is really super quick answers from you guys. You don't
No
guys,
explanation.
you guys don't get
God,
to
you are
explain your
literally the
answers.
ring.
You
You're
get to
creeping people
answer and
out.
move on. So this is called Hit It and Quit It. So the very first question I have, and this is going to be about 4 or 5 questions, 5 or 6 or 10,
Okay.
or 20 or 30. I don't know, whatever I feel like stopping.
Okay.
Very first question: what's your favorite foods? If you're going out to a
Personal.
super, between the two of you, you both have to answer this. If you're
Hey.
going out to an expensive restaurant, what are you guys ordering?
Steak.
I'm not going to argue steak. I mean,
wow, steak and potatoes. There you
It's
go.
not necessarily always good because I like it rare. So
walk it
steak.
through the kitchen.
Yep.
Next one.
Love it. Okay.
I agree with.
See, that's my problem. I start talking and
I know.
it's no more hit and quit it. Favorite? Do you guys binge watch TV or movies or
Oh
anything?
God, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the last 10 years, what are between the two of you, 2 different answers? What is your favorite binge watched
I'm
show?
not gonna lie, Thrones. I mean,
Yeah,
that's been a big one.
Thrones.
That's been a big one. I know it was so disappointing in the last season. I get it. I really
Thrones,
do.
Walking Dead.
Again, disappointing.
God.
However, we did it. True Blood, we did it.
The Heisenberg.
Oh, Breaking
Breaking
Bad.
Bad.
Thank you. That's one of my all-time favorites.
The line that's used in there at the end is absolutely my favorite line ever in any movie or TV show or anything. If you don't know me, tread lightly.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
No.
Okay, you're
Okay, I'm
again.
elaborating. Okay.
One of our tops.
So this is for Paul. What's cool? A souped-up '64 Barracuda or a 2022 BMW?
I don't know what a barracuda. Well, I know what barracuda is. It's a fish. But the car, I have no idea what it is. I would never own a BMW.
I like the Barracuda.
So he's going to go with
I know how to indicate when I'm changing lanes. So owning a BMW.
Are we watching House of the Dragon is a question. I plan to, but I need to check if I'm co-watching with my mother, which is a distant thing. So I have not started it yet, but I'm sure it'll be just as disappointing as Game of Thrones was.
Oh. Helena, this is for you because I asked Paul the what's cool question. This is for you.
Okay.
What's cool? A girls' weekend or a fancy dinner?
Ooh. Both? I'll take a fancy dinner.
Okay.
For sure. I don't have girlfriends. Are you kidding me?
Oh, you have plenty of girlfriends. This is
I
for
look
both
at
of you again.
in my spare time.
That's really some kind of a topic over a dinner table.
Exactly. No one wants. Exactly.
It's not when you're in a restaurant.
People clear out. If we're at a restaurant and I talk about work, people clear out. They don't want to hear about pus and blood and awful things.
Okay, moving on, because now I'm getting sick.
Okay, this is for both of you. Crickets, a blessing or a curse?
Curse.
They're mixed. Because I do still use them, like for my fish scales, for instance, because they adore their. Oh, good job. They adore their Pangea, but they do still need protein, and my goblins are not at the point where I can just offer 100 at a time. So
there you go. It's always sad seeing a whole container that you forgot about that's been sitting under a rack for 3 weeks, and you come down and it's the smell that catches
definitely.
you. Okay, this is for you because Paul abandoned us, but this is what's your favorite thing to do in the facility?
Parenting. Sorry.
Exactly. I know. What's your favorite thing to do in the facility?
Look at poop, obviously.
Obviously, look at poop.
What was the question?
Play with this.
Okay.
Your favorite thing to do in the facility?
Hers is playing with
the snake. Paul, what's yours?
In the facility.
Well,
Yeah.
In your home with looking at reptiles and isopods and roaches.
Socializing animals that I hope are going to be educational animals.
I mean, feeding the lizards, like my Bronia and the
frill dragon.
Frill dragon.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun.
He's so much fun to feed.
And our tortoise. Where are you going?
She's going to come right through. She's going to be right here in our
basically
our
the ring. She's about to come through your screen.
No,
Sorry.
Okay, we asked the favorite thing. What's your least favorite thing to do? And we know that yours is not cleaning poop.
Cleaning out the
I don't
tops.
I don't like cleaning poop, but I like looking at poop if it is a fecal float.
Okay.
Which is the name for what I look at in the microscope.
Yeah.
So what's your least favorite thing?
Cleaning out the Hissu enclosures.
Oh,
the roach bins.
And
they suck.
we have to wear a goddamn gas mask for that. I'm hyper allergic to hissing cockroaches. If they even walk on my skin, I get hives. I have to wear an actual respirator if I even open their tank. It's bad. And it didn't start that way. I didn't used to be allergic to roaches at all.
Neither were you.
No.
So it grew over time. But nowadays, I even have to limit my exposure to, cool species. So definitely anything with the hissers, which again were one of my first loves. But yeah, I mean, you can go back in my profile and see photos of me with a respirator just to get like feeder animals out, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I can't breathe.
I was going to say to Frank that this is the hit it or quit it, real quick and everything, but I do want to address his. Have you ever consumed a good portion of fecal matter to meet your daily nutritional needs? So, I don't know if you want to answer that, but I just read.
Right? Not on purpose.
Yeah, that's a good. I just read that if you are exposed to roaches, which
Sure.
is a follow-up, and it's a great segue
Yes.
here. If you're exposed to roaches, sooner or later, you'll start developing allergies to coffee because there's a certain amount of
I've not heard
Roundup
that.
in
However-
commercially available. Is that crazy?
You hear that?
No, like if there's a specific molecule that's in that, protein or whatever it is that you're going to react to, and if it's also in coffee, fine, then you're going to react to that. However, yeah, it's, for me, who has such a severe reaction to hissing roaches, specifically Gramphidorina and Elliptorina, because those are the two. Yes, good job. Those are the two genuses that we have. So like Halloweens and Aglutinaria and Portentosa. So they're the ones that I majorly react to the point that, yes, again, I need a respirator. Are you helping?
So the point being is there's a certain percentage of allowable
Yes.
roach ground up in coffee. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, anyways.
So anyway,
That's okay. I don't drink coffee.
however, if
I
it
never
were,
will.
I do.
stop. If it were a species, don't. If it were a species that I wasn't, sensitive to. So let's say it was a species of, I don't know, well, Blaptica anyway. And their frass or shite was in the coffee, like I'd probably be fine. If it were Elliptorina or Gramphidorina, which is, the main hisser genuses, yeah, I would be affected. My throat would close up, my everything. So
Yeah.
it
Something
definitely
to
makes a
watch for.
difference. And I do try to limit my exposure to other species because I didn't have a problem with hissing cockroaches initially. When I first got them, I didn't have any problem whatsoever. So it grew over time. So I do try to limit any of my exposure to even like question mark roaches, whatever, which I have no reaction to. But I don't want to someday have a reaction to that. So I will wear a mask, etc., to try and be safe.
So for all of our viewers, and if you're watching this not live and you've gotten to this point, and in the morning you're taking your first cup of coffee, good luck with that. So you guys are working with your animals. Do you listen to music?
Frank Turner.
Frank Turner.
Frank Turner. If you're gonna, honestly, I think that's the main. It's mostly Frank Turner. Maybe some Flogging Molly.
I usually listen to dance music.
Yeah, because he's a raving Englishman. So
So yeah, a bit of trance or house music.
if I have a recommendation, Frank Turner.
So are you guys like turning it up to 11 listening to this music?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. If you are not on the left side of things, maybe don't give Frank Turner a listen. However, You know, yeah.
My last hit it or quit it question, and this is the most important one, is where do you do your research? You want to find out something about an animal that you haven't kept. You want to do your research about them. Where do you do your research? And you can elaborate a little bit with this one.
Like you haven't done every other one.
To be fair, for me personally, if it's a reptile, I really like most of the articles on Reptiles magazine. They do a good job of vetting their writers. Usually that's my go-to. Obviously the spruce is always the first one you get, but I'm always going to scroll down to Reptiles magazine at the very least.
Yeah, for me, Google, like I said, with the Crock Skinks, finding that scientific paper, that to me is better than any
of course
group chat thing, because dear God, everyone's an expert in them.
Right. Right.
It's hard to filter out what is good information, what's bad information from sites like that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, for me, if it's a scientific paper, perfect.
Right.
Which somebody who's spent years of their life studying.
Obviously, I do that as well, especially on the parasite side that I look at. So I'm as well as like treatment in specific animals, etc. I'm going to read a scientific paper over, something from Reptiles magazine, to be fair. If I'm looking for humidity and etc., that sort of basic stuff, probably Reptiles magazine. Yeah. Because again, they do interview people who know what they're doing and have done it for a long time. But again, if it's anything medical, no. Yeah, I'm going to go to a scientific paper. And since I have decent training in medical terminology, which is a language of itself.
Yes, it is.
I tend to glean a decent amount of information. So that's where I'm going to go.
Yeah, well, actually, the annoying thing I found is when I do find really good scientific papers, I don't know what they're doing in Germany, but they're producing a lot there, because most of the stuff I find is in German. It's like, and it always ends up at a German site, and it's like, I wish I'd paid more attention in school, because my German is terrible.
To that point, when I was keeping tropical fish and some of the very, very small tropical fish, Piscogrammas and things like that, the best books absolutely were all in German, and I had to have every single German book. So you go page and page, and you get a word here, and I'd read it 100 times, trying to get a little bit more of this and a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Google Translate is great.
Well, now, but this was like
exactly.
That's how old I am. So there was no. You could ask people, but to find somebody that would translate a whole book from German to English was not that easy.
Wally, what year were you born?
1960.
1960. All right, so you're 1 year older than my mother.
Oh my gosh. That was a good time period. A lot of experience, both good and bad.
To be fair, my dad was born in 1947, so the 60s were aces.
Yeah. This has been an outstanding session.
Lots
and again,
I'm
trying so hard to try to, rein it all in, because it shows we've gone on and on and on, and I don't want to keep you guys.
For sure.
So Frank says 1843. Thanks, Frank. By that much. But I do want to ask you guys, where can people contact you if they have questions, if they want to look at your animals?
Facebook is the best place to contact for questions, for sure. We do have a website where you can just make orders as well. But questions, definitely Facebook, which is just Paul's Pills.
This one. Mom, do I like this one?
I do.
I've added your link to Facebook and to your website in the description if people want to grab that real quick. So
No,
What's that?
I was not born in 1985. My first son was born in 89.
And
I was
wanna
born in
mention-
1991.
There you go.
My third son was, or second one was born in 91.
Night night cupcake
Night,
the
night.
pony.
Night night pony.
The cupcake.
Sorry.
That's okay.
What's her pony's name? Cupcake?
Cupcake.
Yeah, now I'm
Oh.
hungry, so we've
Yeah,
got to end the
exactly.
show. on that.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead and ask.
Lulu.
The pony.
Okay, this question's for you, Lulu. What is your favorite animal mommy and daddy have at home?
What's your favorite animal?
What's the favorite one you have at home?
And ponies.
Ponies.
We
Oh,
don't
you have a pony.
We don't
That
have
would be my
ponies.
favorite too.
Tortoise.
That would be my favorite
How
too.
about I read that? Got it?
Tortoise.
Oh, do you see how many?
I see tortoise.
Okay, cool.
We got her a red tortoise recently because she's about the same age as Paul was when he got his first
Oh,
tortoise.
very
Okay,
cool.
perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For anybody in the Wisconsin area, make absolutely sure you go to one of the shows and look up Paul's Spills. Beautiful, great logo on their sign. Stop by their table and say hi. Please do that for us.
And tell them that you watched the show.
Yes.
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 And also say
Absolutely.
hi to Wally because
I mean, why would you
and
not?
Annette, of course. Like I mean,
I want to thank you once again. This has been a wonderful, wonderful show.
Thank
I've
you.
been
Been a
pleasure.
thoroughly
Thank you.
enjoyed
we've
it.
had a
And it's been
wonderful
my honor
time.
to have
I'm
you
sorry
guys.
it went so much overtime.
Oh,
It's my fault
this
because I
happens
just
all the
blab
time.
and blab and
Yeah,
blab.
we
all
just
the
keep
time.
talking. I could talk
Okay.
for hours. So
yep. No, it's fine.
Thanks
All
everyone
right,
for
good night.
watching.
Good night, Lulu.
Good night, folks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.